Hello, Grissom Choir. This is Level 10 Music Theory Review. The main concept in Level 10 is augmented and diminished intervals. So an augmented interval continues to raise the note by half a step above the sharp or the double sharp, and the diminished interval continues to lower the note by half a step after the flat, the double flat, or the triple flat. So again, remember, we have several different accidentals that we have to keep in mind. We have a triple flat, which lowers the note by 3 half steps, a double flat that lowers the note by 2 half steps, a regular flat that lowers it by just 1 half step, a natural, which cancels out the sharp or the flat, the sharp, which raises the note by 1 half step, or the double sharp, which raises the note by 2 half steps. New thing right here is our interval chart. So each arrow on this interval chart represents 1 half step. With this, you could end up with a triple flat or a double sharp when you are talking about augmented and diminished intervals. So, going on to this first example, we'll come back to this chart in just a second to make more sense of it. This first example, we are looking for a diminished seventh above that bottom note. That bottom note is an E. So remember this process. I always like to do number 3 above number 2. So we always start from the perfect interval or the major interval. Draw a seventh above E. So we count that bottom note as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A seventh above E would be some kind of D. Now we have to list the ingredients of the bottom note. So we got to think like we're in the key of the bottom note being E. E has 4 sharps in it: F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. One of these 4 notes is the note that we drew, and it is a D sharp. So in order to make this a major seventh above, we would have to put a sharp on that note. So a major seventh above E is D sharp. Now we have to use accidentals to lower that note by 2 half steps, taking it out of the key. So like I said, a major seventh above E is D sharp. A diminished note is 2 half steps away from the major. So if we go 1 half step down, if we lower that sharp to a natural, that would then be a minor seventh. But the diminished seventh, the diminished, is another half step downward. So we have to go another half step downward from that D natural to get the diminished chord, the diminished note, and that would be D flat. So a diminished seventh above E would be D flat. Let's do these first 2 examples together again. This first example, that lower note is C. We're trying to find a augmented third. So an augmented is the plus sign. We're trying to find an augmented third above C. So let's just find a third above C. 1, 2, 3. A third above C is E. There's no sharps and there's no flats in the key of C major. So this right here, C to E, would be a major third. But we're not trying to find a major third. We're trying to find an augmented third. So if we go up to this little chart, trying to find the augmented third. So an augmented third is a note raised half a step above the major. So if the note has no sharp or flat next to it, we can think of it as having a natural next to it. We're raising the natural half a step. So we're going from major to augmented. We're augmenting it upward. So a augmented third above C would then be E sharp. Next example, a diminished sixth above that bottom note. That bottom note is G flat. So first we got to draw the sixth above. A sixth above G is some sort of E. Now we got to think like we're in the key of the bottom note. Bottom note is G flat. It is a flat key, so we have B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, but then you got to go one past it to B, E, A, D, G, C flat. That top note that we drew is on an E. It is flat in the key signature, so we would put a flat next to it if we were finding the major sixth. But we're not finding the major sixth, we're finding the diminished sixth. And to go from major to diminished, we have to lower the note by 2 half steps. Lowering the note by 2 half steps. So since it's already flat, we're going to lower it by 1 half step to get E double flat, and then to get it diminished, we put another flat next to it to make it E double flat. E triple flat. So a diminished sixth above G flat is E triple flat. What I'd like for you to do now, pause the video, finish these last 3 examples. When you're done, play it. We'll see if you get them right. Moving on to this next example, we're finding a augmented fourth above F sharp. This is an F sharp, top line of the treble clef. So we have to draw a ledger line and do the note above that ledger line. So some sort of fourth above some sort of F would be F, G, A, some kind of B. Now we have to think like we're in the key of the bottom note. Bottom note again is F sharp. It is a sharp key, so we would have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and E sharp. There are 6 sharps in the key of F sharp. That top note that we drew, B, is not listed in the ingredients, in the sharps that are in the key of F sharp. So, F sharp up to B, that would be a major fourth. Going back to this interval, we're finding an augmented fourth, so we raise that major interval by 1 half step. Raising the interval by 1 half step, since it is technically already natural, all we do is put a sharp next to it. An augmented fourth above F sharp is B sharp. A diminished fifth above B. So we're going to draw the fifth above. A fifth above B would land on F. Now we got to think like we're in the key of B major being a sharp key, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, A sharp. There are 4 sharps in the key of B sharp, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. That first sharp that we drew is F sharp, so to put a sharp next to it would make it a major fifth above. We're not finding the major fifth, though. We're finding the diminished fifth. So the diminished fifth lowers the major down by 2 half steps. So if we were to lower it just by 1 half step, that sharp would then turn it into a natural. That would make it a minor fifth, but we have to lower it 1 more time to find a diminished fifth. A diminished fifth above B would be F flat. Moving on to this last example, we're looking for an augmented second above A flat. Top note being an A flat, or the note that's given as an A flat. Go up to find a second. That would be that very next note up, F, G, A flat. This would be a B. We got to think like we're in the key of the bottom note. Bottom note is A flat, so we go B flat, E flat, A flat. Go 1 past it to G flat. B flat is in the key of A flat major, so we would have to put a flat symbol next to it to make it a major second. But using this chart, the major second goes up a half step to find the augmented interval, so we would erase that flat symbol and we would put a natural sign next to it, because if we raise a flat up by a half step, it would then make it natural. An augmented second above A flat is B natural. That is everything on Music Theory Level 10.